Imagine for a moment, someone has wronged you. Maybe they betrayed your trust, spoke against you, or tried to bring you down. And here's the tough part. They seem to be thriving while you're left with the pain. It doesn't seem fair, does it? But what if I told you that just because you don't see justice right away, doesn't mean it's not happening? What if I told you that God is at work even when it feels like He's silent? You see, we often want immediate results, proof that those who hurt us won't get away with it. But God doesn't work on our timeline. He works on a divine schedule, one that ensures everything unfolds for our good. Today, I want to share with you 7 signs that God is already dealing with those who have hurt you. Because when we truly understand how He works, we can stop holding on to bitterness and start trusting His greater plan. Are you ready? Let's dive in. When someone hurts us and we see them succeeding, it can feel frustrating, even unfair. They seem to move forward as if nothing happened, while we're left dealing with the pain they caused. But what looks like success on the outside isn't always what it seems. Just because someone appears to be thriving doesn't mean their foundation is strong. When success is built on dishonesty, manipulation, or the suffering of others, it lacks real substance. Think about a tree with weak roots. It may look tall and impressive for a while, but the moment a storm comes, it falls, because its foundation wasn't strong enough to sustain it. The same principle applies to those who succeed through hurting others. What they have may look stable now, but in time, cracks will appear. The higher they climb without integrity, the further they fall when consequences catch up to them. We often assume that because justice isn't immediate, it won't happen at all. But God sees beyond what we can see. He knows when success is built on the right values and when it's not. The truth is, success gained at the expense of others is never sustainable. It may last for a season, but eventually it fades. Whether it's through lost relationships, unexpected hardships, or the burden of living with their choices, the illusion of their success will crumble. It's easy to focus on their progress and wonder why they seem to be getting ahead while we struggle, but when we understand that not all success is real success, we can release the frustration. Temporary gains never outweigh lasting consequences. The things they built without integrity won't stand the test of time, because nothing that goes against God's principles ever truly prospers. When someone has wronged you, it's easy to believe they've moved on without a second thought. They act as if nothing happened, carrying on with life while you're left with the pain. But what we don't always see is the internal battle they may be facing. Guilt, regret, and unease don't always show on the surface, but they exist beneath it. Restlessness comes in many forms. Some people struggle to sleep at night, replaying their actions over and over again in their minds. Others may distract themselves with busyness, trying to escape the weight of what they've done. Even if they don't admit it, deep down they know. Conscience is something God has placed in every person, and while people can suppress it for a while, they can never truly silence it. There's a reason why those who harm others often seem unsettled. They may jump from one thing to another, looking for fulfillment, but never truly finding peace. They may surround themselves with noise, entertainment, people, or material success to drown out the still, small voice that reminds them of their actions. This is not a life of peace. It's a life of running. God has a way of dealing with people in ways we can't always see. Just because they don't show remorse doesn't mean they don't feel it. Just because they don't apologize doesn't mean they aren't struggling with the weight of their choices. Divine justice isn't always loud or public. Sometimes it works in quiet, unseen ways, creating an internal storm they can't escape. And no matter how much they try to ignore it, true peace will always remain out of reach for those who have caused harm without making things right. When someone hurts you, it may seem like they continue to move forward effortlessly, as if nothing has changed. They might still be receiving opportunities, promotions, or recognition, but over time something shifts. Doors that once opened for them begin to close. This isn't always immediate, and it may not be obvious at first, but eventually their path becomes more difficult. Opportunities gained through manipulation, dishonesty, or at the expense of others are never truly secure. When people mistreat others, they plant seeds that will eventually grow into obstacles in their own lives. Relationships that once benefited them start to fade. Favor they once had with people begins to diminish. The trust they relied on slowly erodes, and without trust, opportunities dry up. God works in ways that are often unseen at first, but become clear over time. He allows people to make choices, but He also ensures that every choice has consequences. Those who hurt others might think they can continue taking advantage of situations or people, but they will eventually reach a point where things stop working in their favor. They may blame circumstances, bad luck, or even other people, but the truth is, what they are experiencing is the natural result of their own actions. A person cannot walk through life hurting others and expect continuous blessings. There will come a time when doors that once opened so easily begin to shut. The support they once had will fade, and the success they once enjoyed will start to slip through their fingers. What they built without integrity won't last, and when the opportunities disappear, they will be left to face the reality of their actions. God ensures that no one truly prospers while disregarding the impact of their wrong. Life has a way of bringing unexpected challenges, and for those who have caused harm, these struggles often come when they least expect them. At first, it may seem like they are getting away with what they've done, continuing life without consequences. But in time, difficulties begin to surface, setbacks, failures, and disappointments that seem to come out of nowhere. These struggles are not coincidences. When someone mistreats others, they invite turmoil into their own lives. They may experience financial hardship, relationship breakdowns, career setbacks, or emotional distress. The very things they once took pride in may start to unravel. What once seemed effortless becomes difficult, and they find themselves facing obstacles they never anticipated. Sometimes these struggles come in the form of personal unrest. No matter how much they try to move forward, they feel stuck. The things that once brought them joy no longer satisfy them. The victories they once celebrated feel empty. Even if they appear strong on the outside, internally, they are wrestling with battles they can't seem to win. Other times, their struggles manifest in ways that impact their external world. Plans fall apart, relationships grow strained, and things they relied on begin to fail. This is not a coincidence. It is a divine reminder that no one can build a life of peace on a foundation of hurting others. God allows these challenges to serve as wake-up calls, moments that force them to reflect on their actions. While they may not immediately recognize the connection between their struggles and their past behavior, these difficulties are often a sign that God is dealing with them. No wrongdoing goes unnoticed, and eventually, life has a way of bringing people face to face with the consequences of their choices. People can hide their true nature for a while, but they can't do it forever. Those who hurt others often build an image of themselves that looks good on the surface. They may charm, manipulate, or deceive people into thinking they are kind, trustworthy, or successful, but over time the truth starts to reveal itself. At first, they may seem untouchable. They may still have influence, friendships, and opportunities, but as time goes on, cracks begin to show. People start noticing inconsistencies in their words and actions. The lies they told start to catch up with them. Their behavior, once excused or ignored, begins to stand out. God has a way of bringing the truth to light. He allows people to deceive others for a time, but eventually their character exposes them. Maybe they become careless, assuming they will never be held accountable. Maybe they repeat the same behaviors with others, and people start comparing stories. Or maybe they simply can't keep up the act anymore, and their own actions betray them. When this happens, they lose the trust and respect they once had. People who once stood by them begin to pull away. Those who admired them start to question their integrity. Their reputation shifts, not because of outside forces, but because of the choices they've made. God doesn't allow deception to last forever. The truth has a way of surfacing at the right time, and when it does, those who once seemed untouchable suddenly find themselves exposed. The relationships, opportunities, and advantages they built on falsehoods begin to crumble, and they are left to face the reality of who they truly are. While those who hurt you may face consequences, something incredible happens on your side. God begins to bless you in ways you never expected. It may not happen immediately, and it may not come in the way you imagine, but over time, you start to see how He turns your pain into something greater. At first, the hurt feels overwhelming. You wonder why you had to go through it and why justice hasn't arrived as quickly as you'd like. But as you stay faithful, trusting God instead of seeking revenge, you begin to experience breakthroughs. Doors open that you never thought possible. Opportunities come your way that you weren't even looking for. Relationships are restored, or new ones are formed with people who truly value and respect you. The betrayal that was meant to discourage you ends up pushing you toward a new season of growth. The loss you experienced makes room for something greater. What felt like rejection turns out to be redirection. One of the most powerful signs that God is dealing with those who hurt you is that you don't have to. You don't need to seek revenge or worry about their downfall. Instead, God shifts your focus to your own blessings. He fills your life with so much purpose and joy that you no longer have time to dwell on the past. When you walk with integrity, trusting God instead of seeking payback, He rewards you. The very people who tried to bring you down will have to watch as He elevates you. And when that happens, you'll realize that His way of handling things is far greater than anything you could have done on your own. There comes a time when those who have hurt you either try to make amends or quietly remove themselves from your life. This shift isn't random. It's a sign that God is dealing with them. When someone has wronged you, they carry the weight of their actions, even if they don't show it. Over time, that weight becomes too heavy to ignore, and they respond in one of two ways. Some will seek reconciliation. They may reach out with an apology, trying to restore what was broken. At first, it might seem surprising, especially if they acted as though they did nothing wrong. But when God convicts someone, they feel the need to make things right. Whether they acknowledge everything or just hint at regret, their actions show that they are no longer at peace with what they did. Others, instead of apologizing, will distance themselves from you completely. They may avoid you, stop reaching out, or even cut ties without explanation. This isn't because they've forgotten. It's because facing you reminds them of their wrongdoing. Seeing you forces them to confront the truth, and rather than deal with that discomfort, they choose to disappear. Both responses are signs that God is working in their hearts. He doesn't let people walk away from wrongdoing without consequence. Whether through conviction or avoidance, they feel the impact of their choices. You don't have to force an apology or demand justice. God is already handling it. And whether they return with remorse or fade away in silence, their response reveals that they are not as unaffected as they once seemed. God's justice doesn't always happen in the way we expect, but it always happens. When someone hurts you, it may seem like they are getting away with it, but nothing goes unnoticed. Divine justice unfolds in its own time, often in ways that are far beyond what we could have imagined. Sometimes consequences come in direct ways. People face setbacks, their plans fall apart, or they experience the same kind of pain they caused others. Other times it happens subtly through personal struggles, broken relationships, or a loss of inner peace. Regardless of how it happens, God ensures that wrongdoing is addressed. No one can act without accountability forever. One of the clearest signs that God is dealing with those who hurt you is that things start to shift in their lives. Their influence weakens, their success slows down, or they face challenges that force them to confront their own action. These moments aren't coincidences. They are part of a greater plan that holds everyone accountable. God's justice isn't just about punishment, it's about correction. He allows people to face the weight of their actions, not just to make them suffer, but to give them a chance to change. Some people recognize this and make things right, while others resist and struggle even more. Either way, the process is unavoidable. You may not always see the full picture, but trust that God is working behind the scenes. He is not blind to what happened, and He does not allow injustice to stand forever. The very people who hurt you will one day have to face the reality of their choices, not because you forced it, but because divine justice always comes in its perfect time. One of the most powerful signs that God is dealing with those who hurt you is the peace He gives you while they begin to lose theirs. At first, the pain of what they did might feel overwhelming. You may struggle with anger, frustration, or the desire for justice. But over time, something shifts. You begin to heal while they begin to wrestle with their own inner turmoil. When you trust God instead of seeking revenge, He works on your heart in ways you never expected. The weight of the hurt starts to lift and you no longer feel bound by what happened. You stop replaying the past and you find yourself focusing on the present and the future. You gain strength, wisdom, and clarity, realizing that what was meant to break you has actually made you stronger. Meanwhile, those who wronged you are not experiencing the same peace. Even if they seem unaffected on the surface, internally, they struggle. The consequences of their actions catch up to them. They may experience stress, anxiety, or a deep sense of dissatisfaction that they can't escape. No matter how much they try to ignore it, they don't feel the same level of security or happiness they once did. This contrast is not accidental. God is shifting the weight, removing it from your shoulders, and placing it where it belongs. He restores your heart while allowing them to deal with the reality of what they have done. And the more you surrender the situation to Him, the more peace you gain. You no longer need to worry about justice, because your healing itself is proof that God is at work, ensuring that peace belongs to those who trust Him, not to those who caused harm. One of the most powerful ways God turns your pain into purpose is by using your story to inspire others. What you went through wasn't just about the hurt, it was about what He would do through you because of it. When you overcome betrayal, mistreatment, or injustice, your journey becomes a testimony of His faithfulness. At first, it may feel like nothing good could ever come from what happened. The pain is real, and the wounds take time to heal. But as God restores you, you begin to see the bigger picture. You start to meet people who need to hear your story, people going through the same struggles who need proof that healing is possible. Your ability to move forward becomes a source of encouragement for others. Those who tried to bring you down may have thought they were writing the final chapter of your story. But God was just getting started. The very things that were meant to break you become the reason others find strength. Your growth, resilience, and success stand as living proof that no one can stop what God has planned for you. When people see you thriving despite what you've been through, they begin to wonder how you did it. And that's when your testimony becomes a powerful tool. You don't even have to seek revenge or prove anything. Your life itself is evidence of God's justice. While those who hurt you are left dealing with their own consequences, you are walking in a new season of purpose. Your story will not be defined by what they did to you, but by how God lifted you up in the aftermath. The pain was real, but so is the victory. And when others see how you rose above it, they will be reminded that God's justice, timing, and restoration are always greater than human wrongdoing. Pain caused by others can leave us questioning fairness, justice, and even God's timing. When we see those who hurt us moving forward while we're left to heal, it's easy to wonder if they will ever face consequences. But the truth is, God is always working, both in ways we can see and in ways we cannot. Every betrayal, every wound, and every injustice is not forgotten. God deals with people in His own way, ensuring that no wrongdoing goes unanswered. Their success is temporary, their peace is disrupted, and the truth eventually comes to light. At the same time, He is working in your life, turning pain into strength, opening new doors, and bringing you into a season of restoration. The most powerful sign that God is handling your situation is that you no longer have to. You don't need to seek revenge, carry bitterness, or wait for their downfall. Instead, God shifts your focus toward healing, growth, and blessings that far outweigh what was lost. In the end, justice is not just about what happens to them, it's about what God is doing in you. He is preparing you for something greater, using your story as proof of His faithfulness. And when you look back, you'll realize that what once seemed like a painful chapter was actually part of a bigger testimony. So let go of the need to see immediate justice. Trust that God is handling it. Focus on what He is doing in your life. Because when you truly surrender it to Him, you'll find that His way of making things right is always far greater than anything you could have imagined.